If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
I can see you from behind. You can hear me in your mind.
Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. We're on with Hugh Knight of Northwest Yeti Quest again. We're continuing our conversation from last week. And then he's going to basically come on and kind of tell us about what he's going to talk about, and then we're going to get into it in more detail. So, Hugh, go ahead and tell us what you're going to talk about real quick, if you would.
Yeah, well, last time we talked a little bit about the accident that I was in, and I believe we talked a little bit about that potential sighting at the beach and stuff like that. But my research actually had quite a few different discoveries, other than just the hair. There's been recently, I had my wife and kids out there with me, and that's when we found the hair. But we also found, the juvenile footprint, and on the way home, I checked the game camera and found a blob of light, like an orb or a light entity of some sort that was on that game camera moving through the trees. That was pretty crazy. And that same game camera has captured another anomaly of a almost like translucent like creature, humanoid shaped, but it's like see-through, and it's got other strange, bizarre things. There's quite a few things that I'll try to fit in the 30 minutes. Different, how do you want to begin with it? Do you want me to just start running through it all?
Yeah, go ahead. Start running through it.
All right. Well, yeah. So this particular game camera that captured the orb, I set that up after discovering what I call arches. And those, when I talk about my arches, the ones that fascinate me, they're always going to be from one of the deciduous trees, the evergreen trees, like Doug firs and cedars and stuff like that, because we have a lot of leafy trees out there. I got that backwards. The deciduous trees are the leafy trees. Sorry, the conifers are the evergreen trees. The conifer trees are going to be the Doug firs and the evergreens. The conifers, to me, are the ones that are worth looking at, because those trees typically grow straight up, one pole. They keep perfect uniformity to them, whereas when you're looking at alders and maples and just the leafy type trees, those trees just naturally bend and arch and twist and do so much weird stuff that I think a lot of times people look at certain of the deciduous trees and think that they look like Sasquatch trees and stuff like that, when in fact they're just natural. They do weird stuff on their own. But when you're looking at the conifers, the evergreen trees and they're bent in an arch, you got something going on really weird because they just don't do that naturally. And so this particular site, there were two arches bent sideways. I'm talking 120-foot trees twisted sideways and turned into this arch, parallel with the earth. And then there was another one that was just kind of a pathetic arch, but it was right next to an amazing arch. And over time, I would check on those arches. And eventually, that more pathetic arch was getting more and more like an arch until most recently, it's a full-blown arch. So there's two arches side by side. And so I put a camera right underneath those arches. Actually, put two cameras right underneath those arches. And one of those two game cameras has captured this, like I said, a ball of light in broad daylight, a ball of light. Now, that in itself is so bizarre because the sun cancels out most light. Like when somebody's headlights are on in their car driving around in the sunlight, you can't even tell their lights are on because the sun, overrides all that light. And so whatever was traveling through the trees in a sunny, bright day triggered the game camera. So the game camera took 3 pictures of this ball of light moving through the trees. And while the ball of light was moving through the trees, there was an indentation on the ground that is sort of footprint shaped, but it's just 3 pictures. So you go click, click, click through the pictures and you rotate through them real fast and you can see the movement of this white blob of light. And so that was the first thing that I found on this particular game camera that really was kind of crazy. And then that same game camera captured these weird beams of light running through the trees, which a lot of people have tried to tell me, oh, those are nothing, they're raindrops, or, oh, that's just moonlight coming through the trees. But I have 17 trail cams out. I get a lot of night pictures on my trail cams. This particular group of pictures of these beams of light through the trees are, to me, very weird because it's nothing like I'm finding on my other 17 game cameras. And I did get a beam of light similar to them on a different trail cam that I thought was really weird, but I lost that chip. It's so frustrating. I can't find that SD card. I was wanting to put that in video with them.
Welcome to the paranormal world.
Yeah. And then that same trail cam, the same exact trail cam, which is a cheap old trail cam that I bought off of like Facebook Marketplace used. It doesn't have video. It only takes pictures. So that same trail cam captured about 7 or 8 pictures of, like I said, what looks like a humanoid shaped thing that is basically slightly translucent. You can almost see through it, but you can see the legs. You can see the back. You can't really see a head, but you can see this figure. And he's there for 3 pictures, 1, 2, 3, and he just barely moves. Then he's just gone. And then you see this blob of dark mass. And you can see the movement in that mass, but you can't see really what it is. So there's about 7 or 8 pictures from that thing going. And it's just really weird. Out of all my game cameras, this is the cheapest, crappiest one. No video, no nothing. And it's the one that's picking up all this weird, weird paranormal type stuff. And I have 2 of those exact models. And so I recently found a different site in my research area where there's 4 big, huge arches all concentrated right by each other. And then there's a whole bunch of remnants of arches because sometimes these arches blow up when they're bending them. And you can tell when they blow up because you'll see the remnant of the broken tree up in the air and then the pieces of it on the ground where the tree shattered basically from them bending it. Right. And so I'm starting to think that there's really something to these groups of arches. I could be wrong, but I want to get that same weird, cheap game camera set up by this group of 4 or 5 arches and see if it starts getting anything similar to what that other game camera is getting at the double arches. And, other than those pictures, because those are some of my favorite trail cam pictures currently. But I recently had a different trail cam that it had some weird experiences on it too. When I checked the chip, camera photo 15, video 15, there was nothing there. There was a video 15, but I couldn't get any info. There was no date, no time, no anything. It was just like a blank hole in the chip. But according to the data, there should have been something there, but it was just nothing. So then I went to number 16. And initially, I'm looking at the screen, number 16. I don't see anything. I'm expecting it. Then I go to the next picture, and I'm like, and then I go back to 16. And that's when I realized that there was and is something behind a tree. And all you can see is, possibly the shoulder to a Sasquatch, but it's clearly there. There's something behind the tree with part of its body sticking out around the side of that tree. And so, it's definitely not like mind-blowing, but there's definitely something behind that tree, seemingly hiding from the trail cam.
That's what they do. They look like a tree. And just look like a tree. They'll peer out and go, oops. And they'll just stop and freeze.
No,
and
I wish there was a
camera goes off, and then we'll duck back.
Yeah.
Or go down the floors or down on their tummy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That same chip, that same trail cam. So when I came to that trail cam to check the footage, I like to come up the backside of my trail cam so then I don't have a picture of me I have to delete. Right. So if I can sneak up on back of them, that's how I do it. So I'm coming up behind the trail cam, and I go to unclasp the little thing and open it, and the clasp broke. And so I had to use this big, giant hunting knife that I had. And I'm prying the clasp off this thing. So the camera's moving up and down like this.
Yeah.
And while it's moving like this, off in the bushes, these two reddish, orangish, kind of amberish colored eyes, dots, peek around a tree. And they fade in and out as the camera is moving around. And it almost seems like they're blinking or disappearing or something.
Yep, they're probably blinking or closing.
Yeah, if their eyes, which I mean, it's very weird, and I'm saying if because I don't like to say anything's definitive in this world. But if their eyes, whatever that thing is, it was looking at me, watching me struggle with my trail cam, and that all these things that I'm mentioning right now are actually up on, I believe that's my most recent video on my channel, because I took all these game camera anomalies and just made a video kind of with all of them in there. And
his link to his YouTube channel will be in the description below, whether you're watching the audio podcast, listening to audio podcast, or watching the video podcast. So, all right, keep going.
And, yeah, in that same video, there's one more video that it's weird. It's really weird because it's from an area called Dead Canyon, and I was recently in Dead Canyon. Did I talk about Dead Canyon on our interview where we found the elk, the slaughtered elk? Do you remember me talking about slaughtered elk?
I don't remember talking about that.
So my buddy Joe and he was out on mission with me. He spent probably about 5 or 6 nights with me this past summer on 2 different trips up in the mountains. And I took him down into Dead Canyon, and we found an elk that had been completely and totally butchered. All that was left of it was a skeleton, but everything was there. And
the legs and everything were there?
Sorry, I had to get rid of my phone. It keeps going on. So we went down in the bottom of this canyon to just investigate for Sasquatch stuff, because this is a major part of my research area. And in this canyon, about a year prior is where I had my first vocal experience where something screamed at me. Insanely weird sound, scary kind of menacing sound. And so this is an area of great importance to me. And Joe and I get down in the bottom of this canyon. It's a pretty gnarly hike. And immediately he finds this elk skull. It's actually right here. This is the skull and rack to the elk. And the entire skeleton to this elk was there. And this is a bull elk. Like, this is probably like a 600-700 pound animal, maybe more. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Big.
Not small. Elk are huge. They're like a car almost.
Yeah, exactly. They're like the size of a horse with big old antlers on them, and so something had killed this elk and had picked every piece of meat off of it. I mean, all it was a skeleton, the rib cage, the skull, or all that. And so we were pretty fascinated by that, like, oh, cool, it's big old skull with the rack, we're taking this out. And so we spent the day down there exploring around. And then I knew that I had a game camera aimed almost directly upon that elk, but I knew that the elk was just a few paces out of sight of that game camera, which I was frustrating, but I still thought, okay, that game camera has been down here for almost a year. This elk has been down here for a while, obviously. So I figured there was going to be some answers on that game camera to what went on with that elk.
Right.
But so also before we were leaving, later that day, as we were getting ready to hike out, we went back to the elk and we realized that something had picked up all of the big, meaty leg bones. And these are big bones. Like, I was amazed how big these bones are. They were cow bones if I would have found those in a field. Big, giant bones. Well, something had piled all of the big bones about 10 feet away from the rib cage and the skull and everything. And so there was a pile of big, meaty bones right up here. And they had all been moved very recently because they were laid down on top of long grass. Grass won't grow like that. Grass right up around stuff. So the way they were laid upon the grass showed that they probably had only been moved in the last couple of days, maybe even that day even. And that's how the grass was, by the way it was laid down.
Right.
So then we got to thinking about it, like, what moves bones and piles them and separates bones like that? Because a bear or a coyote, like, they don't think like that. They'll grab a bone and run off with it, but they don't organize and separate bones. And then we're looking around even more, inquisitively of everything. And Joey found where something had broke one of the rib bones off of the rib cage and stuck it mossy rock. And it was stuck in the moss and kind of laid there like a marker. Like it was really weird. Once we noticed all this, we realized how weird this kill site was.
And it's like, this is my territory.
We left
or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that, because exactly. Once I got home and I put that game camera in, I'm watching this, it was about 4,800 some odd photos because of a leaf blowing in the wind. It took almost 5,000 pictures. So I had to go through every picture, click, 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 click. Now, I have trail cams all over that area. So I know what a trail cam should have on it. It should have porcupines, raccoons, bears, bobcats, deer, elk. I mean, you name it. That all of those animals should be on that trail cam, especially when I'm looking at almost a full year of footage. All there was on that camera was a couple of deer that crossed that river, which I was blown away. Where's the raccoons? I didn't even see a squirrel. I didn't see anything except a few deer. Not a single elk, not a single bear, not a single raccoon, not a single porcupine, nothing. In about 10 and a half months on the edge of a river where there's fish and wildlife, that should have been inundated with wildlife. But something is in that canyon that the animals that live there, that, the resident animals that live there, do not go in that canyon. For whatever reason, the animals are not entering this canyon. Now, I made a video about this particular game camera because it was just so bizarre. Like, where are the animals? And in that same video, I used a different game camera that had only been set up for 3 weeks on a different part of that river on the other side of the mountain. And it showed what it's like. And there's deer, and there's raccoons, and there's coyotes, and there's bears, and all of that in less than a month. Every animal you could think of. Yet I go to Dead Canyon and I'm showing 10 and a half months of footage, and all there is a couple of deer that wandered through there. And I guarantee you those deer that wandered through there, they're not locals. They were probably just traveling through, snooping around. They don't know. Don't go in this canyon. And the only reason you would ever see a canyon like that, void of animals, is when human beings have moved in there and set up, housing or a camp or something. So I know there's something going on in that canyon, in Dead Canyon. There's, evidence galore. And that was actually one of my most recent trips. I think that was my last trip up there, was up there with Joey. And on that same trip with him, we got into a lot of deep parts of the canyons that I'd never been in before. Cool. And we were hunting pretty hard for sign. And he and I found some juvenile footprints again, which that was really cool, because the first juvenile footprint I ever found was with my wife and kids on that same trip, where I found that giant ball of hair.
Yeah.
And to find a juvenile footprint for me was like, I don't know, it was a big deal. Like, I was pretty excited to find a little kid size Sasquatch footprint, because I was never thinking about little kid Sasquatches being out there. I was always thinking about big, burly Sasquatches,
Well, you know what they look like, right? Have you ever seen one? A juvenile, a baby?
I've never seen one in real life. I've seen videos.
2-3 feet tall, and they look like Cousin It. You know that, like all the hair coming down? That's what they look like. That's exactly what they look like. I saw one at my friend's house. Yeah, just hair coming straight down. I thought it was a bush until it stood. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I didn't know on camera. I was watching it.
Did they have facial hair like growing out of the neck?
Hair like everywhere, just hair straight down. All you could see, you couldn't see a face, you couldn't see anything. It just stood,
it was draped across their
drinking some water out of the creek, and it literally stood up. And I'm like, what the hell? That bush just moved. And it walked away in the brush. I'm like, okay. I didn't give chase because I'm like, oh no. If there's a baby like that, mom and dad are not far away. I'm not going to go chasing that into the wild.
I'd be gone.
No, you'd probably find my body like torn into pieces.
Yeah. You're lucky you didn't get attacked. Yeah. Because, with any animal, if you see a baby bear or a baby coyote or a baby cougar, you need to get the hell out of there in a hurry.
Yep. You could exactly. Yeah, you piss off Mama Bear or Mama Sasquatch. Oh,
yeah,
they will.
And I can't remember. Forgive me, because I've done a couple of interviews lately, and so my brain is kind of scrambled. But did we get into the apple, the disappearing apple, on the last interview?
No. Let's hear about it.
Okay. Well, we talked about me getting ran over, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was on that same trip, because it was prior to getting ran over, where so I'm in a campsite all by myself, and I've been out there for a few nights by myself, and I'd been up all night in a hunting blind, and I had my night vision stuff, and I'm just sitting there all night waiting for a Sasquatch to come through, and it never happened. So I went to bed around 6:30 in the morning, and I get woke up about 9:30 in the morning with this sound hammering my tent, and this sound was so loud, just rattled my brain, like just incomparable noise. And I thought I was hearing logging equipment. And then I put myself back to sleep, and it hit my tent again. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what, they're logging this close to my camp? And I fell back asleep, delusionally tired. I've been up all night, only been asleep for a few hours. And then that sound hits my tent again. And that's when I realized, like, oh shit, that's the sound from Dead Canyon. That's that vocal that I heard, last fall or last summer or whatever it was. It was the exact same noise. It's just like crazy sound that I can't even begin to emulate or describe. So I jump up, run out, I'm in my site, freaked out, like, dead tired and all discombobulated. And I look over, and I knew that I had set this down like about 4 or 5 feet from my tent, and directly off to the side was a camp aimed at the red apple. And so I knew that the apple was there when I first went to bed around sunrise, around 6:30 in the morning. And here it is about 9:40, so a few hours later, and I'm getting woke up by this crazy sound. The apple was gone. So, okay, I have a game camera. I'm gonna finally get something.
Yeah.
Go up, get the chip out of the camera. I put the chip in my little thing, and I'm going through the scanning, and The apple's there 1 second and then just gone. No picture, no nothing, just gone. And you know, I'd seen that in other Sasquatch guys' videos, like, you know, Les Stroud had that happen to him on a research mission, and then for it to happen to me was just weird, you know, because I was always kind of skeptical of that, you know, with some of the Todd Standing stuff about apples disappearing, and yeah, it'd be just so easy to fake, you know, and so I always had to be a little skeptical of all that stuff, just not sure if, you know, whatever. And then there it is happening to me. And it was pretty crazy because I'd put a lot of fruit up in front of trail cams as I would set them up. And time again, I would go check that trail cam and the fruit would be gone. But then I would check the footage and there'd be no explanation for the fruit disappearing. And so I would say, okay, it got blown by the wind, or it rotted and disappeared and turned to dust. Like it, you know, just try to make up any kind of reason for it other than an invisible Sasquatch came in and took it. But then I experienced it right next to my tent, you know, like it that time period, I was kind of on the fence about the whole cloaking kind of invisibility thing that I had heard. But it's freaking real. Like it's real. Like they really have some weird ability to disappear or be invisible or whatever. And then when this all happened prior to the game cameras, where I said that I caught that orb light being of light, and I caught that footage of a translucent like figure, and it all ties together, you know, it all kind of corroborates one another, you know. It's just been crazy. It really has. You know, everything's been crazy.
Definitely.
I haven't been up in a while. I'm planning some missions up there in October. I hope I can get up there before then, but I have a friend coming in from Mexico actually, and he and I are going up to we're going to do 2-3 nights up there in October. And I'm hoping to actually get up a couple nights ahead of him and get the camp all set up, and then he'll fly in, and then I'll have to go pick him up, meet somewhere, and then. But we're hoping to do some really, really backcountry, get into some areas I've never been in, and hoping to find some structures and some.
Yeah, well, this is their migrational period too, supposedly.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Right before winter, they start to move.
And well, interestingly, I believe if you know that's true, that they migrate and move around this time of year, my research area would be a site where they would be moving into.
Right.
Meaning like any high elevation Sasquatch trying to get out of that harsh winter. Yep. You come to my research area and it doesn't snow there. It doesn't snow, and there's fish runs all winter. I mean, my research is really cream of the crop for Sasquatch year round.
Right.
They got.
Uh-oh. We lose you? He froze. Uh-oh. We lost Hugh. Not sure exactly what happened here. We're going to try and get him back on, guys. Hold on. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Unfortunately, you guys missed a few of the things we were talking about, but yeah, we're going to wrap up with Hugh, and we'll have him back on maybe in the future. He just sent out some hair samples, and we're going to see what he gets. He also has some expeditions coming up, and we think that Bigfoot are maybe traveling through his area. So he's going to keep us updated on what's going on with that, and see if he has any more sightings or any more activity, or finds anything else, any structures or anything like that. And I just want to thank you again, Hugh. We appreciate you. Hugh Knight with Northwest Yeti Quest. Tie myself into tongue here. All right. Well, we'll catch you on the next one.